I'm Rachel, and this is Designed Resilience, the corner of the internet where we talk about building daily habits and practices that help you have the foundation you need when life is amazing, because that takes stamina, or when life is really hard, because you need something to draw from. And I could not be more thrilled to introduce you today to a multi-hyphenate, Barbara With. She is an international peace activist, award-winning author and publisher of books and screenplays and music. She's a composer. She has built her own change the world platform of world peace, one person at a time, starting with yourself. And I couldn't cram any more words into my mouth about how fabulous she is. So I'm going to stop and let Barbara tell us a little bit about herself. Let us know who you are, Barbara, in your own words.
What a great intro. Thank you so much, Rachel, for having me. Well, that's good. And I was thinking about where to start in this multifaceted story. And since we are talking about resilience, I began teaching myself piano when I was 4 or 5. I started writing music when I was 12. And by the time I was out of high school, I went right out on the road. I had enough music to play. It was the 70s, there were coffee houses, and that was the beginning of my dreams. I wanted to be a rock star. And I took a turn somewhere along the way where I discovered that I had this talent for psychic art, intuitive arts, I call it. So this journey comes, and where I am today with all of this that you've described, comes out of a very traumatized family situation, which I don't think is unique to me by any means. But back then, when I was growing up I was born in 55, so there wasn't any kind of awareness of abuse and what it was doing inside the family unit. And so there was a lot of trauma. And I think that ties into why I have developed this incredible resilience against all the things that I've been thrown just as a person. And so when I started writing the music and it was this very deep, dark, sort of goth, spiritual stuff. We are sailing on a ship that's bound for muddy waters, but we are together. I'm 13. What does that mean? Where'd that come from? And while I was doing that, my friend's mom, well, we didn't even call her a psychic, because it wasn't like I was looking for a psychic. It's like Mike said, "Hey, you got to come see what my mom does." I was like, "What does your mom do?"
Right?
And it's like, "Well, you got to come and see it." It's like, okay. And here was this, she probably looked like me now. She had gray hair and she had a picture of Jesus. Well, gosh, I got a picture of Einstein back there. And she'd light a candle and she'd close her eyes, and this beautiful kind of aura would surround her. And she would talk to us like she had been in our heads.
Wow.
She could talk when she would address you, Barbara, and then she would talk about all of the inner turmoil that I had been going through without knowing what to do about it or what it was. I was maybe 16 when I got my first reading, in the midst of all of the insanity. Father had left and mother, whatever. And it just shifted everything in my perspective after I'd leave her. It wasn't so much about, is my boyfriend coming back? It was about, how do I get this music out and how do I become this rock star? And so I had readings with her on the regular through my music career.
Oh.
And it was really cool. And it was all happening. I grew up in Minneapolis, and I was becoming one of the top people in Minneapolis at the time, and headlining at the coffee houses and winning awards and doing all that. And then in 1987, in 72 to 87, my career, it was so much sex, drugs, and rock and roll that it was kind of killing me.
Yeah.
And even though I was doing all those things, I was still just desperately traumatized inside, and nothing had really been addressed,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like I was getting, counseling or whatever. It was still there. And that was when I started to channel.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it was. So I knew what it was, and it came about because I was writing a letter to a friend. And I was super judgmental.
Okay.
And suddenly my hand started typing something that was not what I intended to say, and certainly not in that tone of, it's so bad that you make so many judgments about people. Stuff like that. Setting me up for conflict revolution. But it suddenly changed, and it's like, because when you make judgments, like the lens of an eye, you close down your ability to see the big picture. That's what happens when you make judgments.
Right.
So open up and like, oh, we're waiting for you.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Okay.
And I went,
whoa.
Who is this? See, because I knew what was going on, but Eunice was always an antenna.
Okay.
There weren't angels or famous people or even dead people. It was just an antenna. And that's how I thought of it too, myself. But they said sound. That was their answer when I asked, who are you?
Oh, okay.
And I sat for a minute and I let it kind of sit, like, what does that mean? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
And I just kind of sat with it, and it made sense because that was everything that I worked with all those years of learning the piano and writing the music and using sound as my tool and my craft. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just an antenna with some extra sound waves, whatever. And that's how I started to be a channel. And people would come to me, and I eventually learn to speak like Eunice had with us. That was a transition. Yeah. And for several years, I took in clients, and I'd do what she did, close my eyes. She said she never remembered. And I feel like I'm watching.
Okay.
So it's not blacked out. But I don't remember. I've done so many readings in this time that, and so a little later on in 1993, I thought, what would these voices say if I did a group? If I had people like listening? Because, I knew Jane Roberts did small groups in her living room, and Edgar Casey, I'm sure, had a small group. And so I tried to get some people that I knew, and nobody seemed interested. And then Teresa came as a referral, as a client, and she sent 6 more women. And then she sent her best friend, Kim.
Oh.
And as it turned out, Kim and Teresa and I formed what we called the Psychic Sorority.
Yes.
And we started to organize groups in our living room, and which meant just inviting people, telling them what it is and inviting them for the experiment. And in the first group, I don't know if it was exactly the first group, but when the question was, who are you, from somebody else besides me, the answer was angels.
Oh, okay.
Right. See, you're having the same reactions I had. It's like, oh, really? what happened to the antenna? And who are these angels? And what does that really mean? Angels. That's always my reaction to these changes. And what these angels said to the 3 of us was that they had this theory about if humans use their theory to first resolve conflict inside themselves in their own energy field in a particular way, that it would naturally manifest peace around them.
Wow.
So it became, like you said, world peace, one person at a time, starting with self.
Yeah.
And they stressed that the goal was not world peace.
Okay.
The byproduct will be world peace.
Okay.
The goal is to resolve the conflict first within yourself. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And they needed it to test it if it worked on human conflict. And they needed some people to have conflict and to have enough awareness, but then also be authentic and committed enough, since nobody knew what we were doing. What does this mean?
Yeah.
And it was us. Apparently, we volunteered and were chosen, they said.
Yes.
And sure enough, we all committed and we did it. We had our first real legitimate fight. And we took out the manual. It took us a little while because we were in the middle of a fight when I said, wait a minute.
Go get the book.
I'm going to get the transcripts, and I can. If you're involved in a conflict, your part begins within you. And that shifted all of the energy. And I think now that I'm talking about it for the millionth time,
right.
I think it made us remember, when you're in the heat of a fight or you're in the heat of something, we tend to forget how resilient we are, or, we tend to just forget how much resource we have. And in this case, we tended to forget that these angels just told us this is what they wanted from us. And so when we did it, it's like, oh yeah, it brought this mission, which is now, it's 30, 40 years old, into beginning in a beginning focus. So like I went back to the table and went, okay, here's what I can do better. And Kim said, yeah, here's what I need to do, and just really quickly that night I was playing at a hotel in Minneapolis, and there was a waitress at the hotel that she just was cold. She just wasn't ever nice to me. And I didn't care. I just knew that's how she was. And I'd be playing there for 2 years. She was so, oh, Barb, it's you, just warm and open, and wanted to give me some of her Patti Smith cassette tapes and put $20 in my tip jar. And I thought, this is really weird. And then I remembered what they said. You change it here first, and then it changes around you in ways that you cannot address at the level that it's being created. I could never have pulled Patty aside, or whoever she was, and said, hey, how come you don't like me? I would never have achieved such a thing. So that was the first research that came out of this absurd story, frankly. I just wanted to be a rock star, but I'm all in, And so we published our Diaries of a Psychic Sorority, Talking with the Angels.
Yeah.
In 1997. In 1998, my agent got a call from a tabloid, a metaphysical tabloid, those in London, looking for an interview with Princess Diana.
Oh.
On the 1-year anniversary of her death.
Whoa.
And again, my reaction, whoa, what are you talking about? I mean, I was used to dead people coming to me and revealing themselves and saying, get this to my living person.
Okay.
But I was not one who went and said to you, hey, let's go find your grandma. I just didn't work that way, but I did it. I imagined I was talking to her, and I typed out the questions and typed out the answers and printed it off. And it was really stunning.
Yeah.
And her main message, besides all the detail about her and Dodie and the kids and whatever, was if everybody who put flowers in front of the palace would do this, we'd have world peace in the day.
Wow. Incredible.
And I wept. It's like, and I said to her, now that I know it's her, I'm sitting at a park bench reading this, weeping.
Right.
This is so brilliant. And if it got into a tabloid where there's 40 million people, wow.
What an audience.
And she said, yes, I know, but we are not in charge.
Yeah.
I said, thank
Yeah.
God we're not in charge, because I couldn't dream this up in a million years, you know.
Right.
Well, they flew me out to New York and spent 5 hours with me, and they didn't want it. They didn't want to publish it,
Oh my goodness.
which is perfect in the long run. But at the moment, we thought,
Okay.
well, maybe they were looking for like stuff about Camilla and Charles,
Oh, sure.
because
Sure.
I didn't know anything about any of it. I didn't know anything about Camilla or Charles or any of it until she started showing up. And then, but anyway, and so when they didn't want it, my agent and I sat down and said, maybe there's other famous dead people who want to talk to us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, now that we know we can do this, who would you want to talk to? And we made this list, and Einstein wasn't on it.
Okay.
So when we got to John Kennedy,
Oh, wow.
that alone is a whole conversation, especially now that's many years later.
Yes.
But he said, put your list away.
Okay.
You're not in charge of this.
Oh,
We're a collective of souls
yeah.
working in afterlife for world peace. Okay, so they were maybe mixed in with those angels, you know?
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
They couldn't really just step out right away, because psychologically it'd be like, what?
Right. Yeah. Couldn't handle it. Yeah, for sure.
No, I still only want to be a rock star at this point.
Right.
So when Einstein came up, I spoke that channel. It was the voice of every reading from the start. It was the voice of sound. Yes. The voice of sound.
Wow.
It was the voice through Eunice.
Yeah. Wow.
And quite probably it was whatever inspired me at 4 years old.
Yeah.
To climb up onto the piano and go, what's this? What's this? What's this? And somebody was probably going, well, that's that and that's that. And he in life, Einstein was a pianist and a violinist and loved music. So but I didn't get all that in the moment where I was channeling it and going, what?
Mm-hmm.
What's this implication? And I kind of just had to go with it, you know. But it took me about 3 years before I could really, really come out of the closet and do an event or a channeling group where now I'm not channeling angels. I'm channeling the Party of 12. And that book came out July 2001. And then September 11th, 2001.
Right.
And when that happened, I had this Barb, you have all of this incredible stuff at your fingertips. When are you going to have the courage to just step out and say, okay? And so I found a way to present it that said, you don't have to believe it's Einstein, but listen to what they're saying. And then you tell me who it is. You tell me what it is. Because all I ever wanted to be was a rock star. I never went to college. I dropped out of all my science and math courses. So you tell me what it is. And it never gets to anything other than that people listening to it and just going, because you feel it in your body.
Yes.
Not that it's Barb with the great channel. It's that whatever's coming out of me is really what it is.
Yes.
And maybe because, going back to resilience, is I'm all about early thinking, I'm going to manifest being a rock star. Everything I had, I didn't even make money. It was the passion, and I booked myself and the drive, and I did everything a person humanly could, and I didn't achieve it. I didn't achieve what I thought I was going to be there with, playing with Bruce Springsteen and Joni Mitchell and, all that. I didn't achieve it.
Right.
But the resilience that I learned through that passion was, it was part of building the character, I think, that the angels and conflict revolution are meant to do this process that they're teaching. So,
yeah. Oh, okay. So many things. All right.
I know. I have to stop.
No. It's perfect. I love it so much. So kind of going all the way back to when you met Eunice and the conversations that you were able to have where it felt like she was in your head. I think there's nothing more perfect for a teenager, especially someone who's at a rough home environment where that wasn't safe. You're trying to express control or just some sort of standing when your own family doesn't necessarily recognize that you have any power, and you're just trying to find some grip. And the perfect thing was for her to be able to speak to your truth. And I think that's so powerful. And what a beautiful dance. It would sound, it probably started back at 4 when you got the inspiration to play the piano. And so that energy and love has been moving you along in the right way at the right time for your whole life. Like that it just made my heart feel so good. Because sometimes I think teenagers, it's such a rough place to be because like hormonally and physically your body is mature, but you don't have the life experience to be able to. I used to get so frustrated with my stepdad because he would tell me, you can't understand something until you've been through it or you've been close to it. And I was frustrated by that because I was like, I'm a smart kid. I'm empathetic. I try to pay attention. Surely I can understand. And as I've matured through life, I realized you can't. You can try and you can want to, but you can't understand until you've been there. And so I love that they approached you that way and introduced themselves in ways that was holdable for you. First, I'm just picking up on the antenna from Eunice, and then sound came for you because that was your language and that was your passion and that was the way you could connect. And then as you 3 got together, you met angels, and then you're like, okay, well, they can be individually personified. Okay, I got that concept. And then you met the souls of the lived experience and got to bring that. Man, did you have any idea because it sounds to me like a pretty perfect path. It wasn't the goal that you had set up for yourself of the stadium tour and all of that. But in retrospect, having you tell me now, it feels like, yeah, every step makes sense. Was there any point in the middle of it where you were like, this makes sense? Or were you the whole time like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get where I want to go someday?
Because what drove me at such a young age was what you just described, is that I was living in a house, and you add when you add sexual abuse, if I can say that,
Yes.
you get a detachment,
Yes.
you get a dissociation. And I had all of this capacity that I had no idea, and nobody around me. I was the bottom of the 4, the youngest of 4, and they were all out the door anyway. And so because I needed to have my voice that was my voice, early on became what was important. So even though I was writing these songs, and when you hear my music, and you can go to barbwith.com, and there it's all there, it's phenomenal music. It's my career is really phenomenal, even though I didn't. And thank God we are not in charge, because I would not want to be in the music business.
Yes.
And so I was saved, and I had a chance to. I was offered a chance to work with Stevie Nicks.
Wow.
And she wanted to produce somebody. And my initial thought was to protect my voice.
Right.
Because people always said, well, if you wrote music a little more this way, it'd be a little more commercial and you could sell it a little more. And I would just go, I'm not here to sell.
Right.
I'm here to write from my soul and have my voice the way and it's the thing we have control of.
Yeah.
I mean, someone can shut you up, and certainly they did, but you can't stop me from sneaking to the piano when nobody's home and writing these incredible songs.
Yes.
So I think along the way, I didn't always realize it. In fact, it was only a few months ago when I finally told the Stevie Nicks story, because have to debunk these manifestation ideas that you can just create anything. It's you looked at it and for what it really was and we did that. The three of us were like, could this, what? And now, all these years later, we look back and go, what did we think when they said we had this great mission that was going to expand beyond our lifetimes? And I don't know. What did we think? Well, but the point that kept us going was that when we did what they said, our lives became magical.
Oh,
it was doing it.
Right.
It was doing this process that's basically, it's a lot of shadow work. And it's this revolutionary way to approach emotion that transcends modern psychology about you don't want to go into the story of it. You want to learn when it's present moment, how to use your breath and your intention. It's like when you're epileptic,
okay,
right? There's signs, right? That you're maybe gonna have a thing.
Yep.
And so emotion, we define it as more of a, you want to feel all of them. You want everything to be moving through you with your breath. But what you don't want it to do is attach to a thought and a story that then channels whatever it is out into the manifestation of the world. Like, I'm so mad because this person did this and they're evil. And so now I have to go protect myself from them. That's kind of how reality gets created, right? Emotion flows up, it attaches to these thoughts. So we separate emotion from intellect and we treat them differently.
Okay.
So if you had something wrong with your heart, you go to one person, you do one thing. If you had something with your kidney. So each of these, we call them the three human dimensions: intellect, intuition, and emotion. And they operate individually, like organs, spiritual organs, but they also have a way they operate together to reach the optimum operating system. So that what we're projecting is the deepest compassion that we feel. And we've trained our thoughts to also understand how powerful they are and focus it where it needs to go. So for example, and this was, I wish I would have known this when I was young. I was so full of emotion, is that when the emotion comes up, instead of the intellect trying to find out why it is or who did it and what am I supposed to do about it, blah, 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 we train the intellect to go, I don't need to know why I feel this right now.
Okay.
I need to just sit here and breathe.
Okay.
And then you sit there and intentionally, even if it's for 30 seconds.
Right.
And once you start to release all of it, because we tend to have, layer upon layer of emotions that we haven't felt and we're not supposed to feel and nobody knows what to do with it. And when we let them up, then we all go crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard. But when you do it and honor it in that way where, then the intellect gets less powerful.
Yeah.
Like if it's trying to focus on Betty, who did this or whatever, because there's not an emotion fueling the thought.
Okay.
So it gets a little easier because you know how hard it is to master thinking. And and then when you know what you're putting in there instead, the example that I gave where you have the soundbite where it's like, I don't need to know why I feel. I need to sit here and be with it. And then, so same with the intellect.
Okay.
If you're obsessed about Betty and what she's doing, because we all do it, like, we get triggered. Oh, she's done it. Stop. Then take some time to articulate very clearly what you think Betty's doing. Write it down.
Okay.
See what it is. Get it out of you. Get your true voice. And be as judgmental as you feel about Betty.
Okay.
Be honest and truthful.
Okay.
And then you read it back as if you're talking about yourself.
Oh.
Now there's the trigger of emotion right there, right?
Yeah.
And now, okay, what are we going to do? I don't need to know why. Right now, I need to feel and breathe that trigger. So we're harvesting. It's almost like we're harvesting the emotions to bypass it. And now you're back to, wait a minute, I'm not like Betty. It's like, okay, well, we have these ground rules we play with conflict resolution, that your domain is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my domain is not your responsibility, and your domain is not my responsibility. So we're going to revolve the sound bite. Well, Betty always disrespects me. Whatever it is, you get the whole story down to a sound bite.
Okay.
And you revolve it around and say to yourself that here's my homework. I'm going to pay attention. We activate a witness part of ourselves. It's going to be watching what we're thinking, what we're intuiting in our heart chakra, what the emotion is coming in our solar plexus. And we're going to pay attention to how that energy is flowing. It's like we become our own physician, right? Yeah. Are you feeling your feelings? What thoughts are they feeling? And in between all that, here's intuition telling, it's right there, the next most advantageous step to take for the good of the whole. Right there in your heart chakra. It's always beaming that message out. But this and your intellect and all these really uncomfortable feelings we've been told are detrimental to us. We can't go there and don't know what to do with them. You can't hear that. Right. You can't hear that sound.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So powerful. All right. So if this conversation feels incredibly relevant right now, specifically because we're both located in the United States. And for someone who is connected, intellect, intuition, emotion, can be a very hard place to be, because it feels like so few people anymore, although, a lot of times we're not equipped. Like, you have to find this knowledge. You have to work into this space through therapy or coaching or reading or your own spiritual walk, or, you have to kind of seek this out. This connection, it feels like so few people are interested or activating that connection right now. And the conflict that we're seeing. And this is so empowering because you begin to see that no external circumstance needs to change. Like the waitress at the hotel, you don't need to activate any change in her. You could start with you, and then you'll see it. And maybe that's, to your point about debunking myths about manifestation. Maybe that's the truer what manifestation is that when you connect, then you see that peace, then you see that reflected back to you. Speaking of reflection, I love this step in the process of, as you get triggered by someone and you get really honest about your feelings and you write them down and you say them out loud, true, no candy coating. And then you have to realize that that is a reflection of you, that your whole experience happened in you. The reaction to the stimulus, the construct that you defined it with, all of that is in you. And that's where you get to work on it. And so that is the feeling I got when you said you have to say, now put your name in for the person that you're talking about. My chest kind of went, I was like, oh, it's not comfortable.
And it'll do it every time.
Yeah. Because I think it's the weight of the truth of it and the discomfort of the ugliness of it right together.
Well, we call it hanging and dang.
Okay.
Because when you're working on it, like I had this soundbite, she makes me do her work and then she criticizes me for it. Okay, it doesn't even matter what the conflict was, right? Doesn't matter. And I for like 2 weeks, I'm like, I would never make somebody do my work and then criticize them. Blah, 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 blah. And I called up Teresa and I said, here's my sound bite. And of course, without missing a beat or even a breath.
Yeah.
Said, because you can see it in everybody else, once you start listening, it's like, oh, they really don't believe. Remember the time that you were separated from your husband and he paid the mortgage and he cut the grass and he changed the storm windows and he took care of the dog and he sent you money and all you could say was he doesn't support you?
Mercy.
So that's where you go, dang.
Yeah.
And you kind of hang for a minute at the truth and you're hanging and dang, you're like, dang, it's me.
Yeah.
And I went to him and I was able to make another layer of healing. Yeah. And seriously, the next day it was about this woman at work. She was fired. So I didn't do it to get her off my back or to fire her. That was the byproduct, world peace. One person at a time, starting with me.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
So powerful. I love this because, so I will admit that as I've kind of gone on my spiritual journey, I followed some manifestation teachers, and it's this idea of, or I guess the message I've predominantly gotten is feel hopeful and expectant of the thing that you want, keep your vibration high. And so that, I would work on that. I'd listen to happy music and I'd, wear clothes I like and like the things like that. But the teachers that I had been exposed to prior never talked about. The closest thing I can relate it to is like a 12-step program, because I've done 12-step work in my life. And that getting in and like, getting the good all the way down, and looking at yourself. But that feels like a more authentic and holistic approach to the vibration, as opposed to just like, waking up in happy music and don't listen to anything that makes you upset and, just kind of stay high, but never getting it up out of you. I can absolutely see why it's fast and magical, because you are dealing with the pain that would have pulled you down, in my sort of manufactured high vibration. Anything that tapped that string in me would have pulled me right back down. I wasn't excavating it. Powerful.
And that's not a bad thing to do, I think, to elevate. But what I learned over the course of the Stevie Nicks, whatever that was that I did more than just what you just described. Mm-hmm. I devoted every minute of my life to being on the road and to being a singer and to be in working. It isn't that I sat back and just imagined someday I'm going to be a rock star. And I didn't do it. And it wasn't because I wasn't doing enough and I was not in the right vibe or anything. It's because there's a greater purpose in life. And we find it by going inside.
Yeah.
And if we think the externals, because I thought it was all about being a rock star and having lunch with Bruce and being on the reward shows and getting the awards, and without anything inside, you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
And plus, and this is the part that's challenging, is somewhere along the way, we are not in charge.
Yeah.
And this process, conflict revolution, that's come out of all this, mm-hmm. is about how to work for the good of the whole. That's the most important thing. It's not about making sure I get enough money or manifest those diamonds or whatever, it's like, it's not about making the lady get fired or, right. It's not. It's about my own self-care. Mm-hmm. And in the process, because we start with us, my domain, and then by doing that, I can then turn and know exactly how to work for the good of the whole. Mm-hmm. And if the good of the whole was for me to go on to bring this message forward and then devote the rest of my life to bringing it, what a great thing. I didn't get to be a rock star.
It would have been much more difficult for you to be credible, for sure.
I think I would have died.
Yeah.
At that time, if I had gone into rock and roll music business at the end of the 70s where cocaine was just everywhere and it was starting to be corporatized, I don't think I really would have survived, because this work I've done has been the addressing of my trauma and has shown me now at this stage of my life anyway, how blessed every terrible moment was to help me have this resilience and this wisdom and to have overcome it.
Right.
And even my father, who was the main perpetrator of, what I experienced in that way, I was able to, in life, live without the attack, like holding him account. I mean, I don't have to hold him accountable. I don't have to give my emotion that he's in charge of it now anymore. And I can love him from afar. He, in the way out circle, like, you can't talk to me. No, well, I'll see you in the afterlife, but God bless you. Thank you for everything. And when he passed, right before he passed, I had my last conversation. And, and he said, Barb, I bought your Einstein book. I don't really understand it fully, but you're onto something. And I thought, whoa. And he passed. And I was like, I did it. My mom kept saying, aren't you going to be regretful you didn't have him in your life? I was like, no, I don't. I love him. So conflict revolution has saved my life. And the greater plan is we have to learn to live with mystery.
Okay.
We have to learn to be able to say, you know what? I think I know, but I don't fully know, and I have to discover. So I can think I know what you're thinking or feeling. Well,
sure.
Okay. Well, let's just be sure, be in your body, be with it. Skepticism will outlast the lies. Truth will outlast the skepticism.
Okay.
I don't think skepticism is a bad thing at all. I think it's part of our process of finding out for ourselves and not just taking someone's word and seeing what fits for us. And I hope people, if there's a message in that, understanding how resilient we really are. And sometimes those excruciating times are the places that they're just showing us how it is.
Yes. Okay. So and I don't know if it's specific to a woman or just a human that grew up in a chaotic and unstable and abusive childhood. One of the things that I have striven for is a feeling of safety. That's a lot of my physical manifestations of anxiety, the things that I tried to control when I was trying to fix and find safety in myself. So I feel like I'm well along the way in that journey, but I'm not quite there yet. So when you say you have to be okay with mystery, that makes me nervous a little bit, because I'm like, is mystery safe? Like, are we going to be okay? Like, what? So did you have that question at all? Or what do you think about that, the way my brain kind of took that?
I think that as you explore this revolutionary perspective that we've been doing, there's these shifts that are, and they used to say this, you're just going to turn your head like this much.
Okay.
But the whole picture is going to look different. That's how they described their effect on our lives. We're going to tell you this little bit different perspective that, is mystery safe? Could mystery be safe? Mystery is actually part of the safety.
Okay.
It's embracing it and being able to say, at the root of everything, and when we get into the Einsteinian material, when you get that far ahead, he says at the root of everything is a mystery. It's the 0 point.
Yeah.
So you can't see it. There's nothing there. It's a mystery. But in our personal lives, the psyche, so you're talking about anxiety. If you apply this process. So you're in the middle of the night, because we all do it,
Yes.
and in the stomach, you can't sleep, and and the first thing you do is, okay, I don't need to know why. This is a time I'm going to harvest these emotions, because they've been buried within me for so long, and now they're coming up and I have a chance. And you use your breath and you start to do that. And then what I say about that thing where you write it out and then turn it on yourself, there's a time for that.
Okay.
But in those moments where you're feeling it, actually feeling it, to just divorce it from whatever the thoughts are that are building possible futures or worrying about the past or whatever the thoughts, because that's what anxiety triggers, anxious thoughts.
Right.
If you can just detach it from that, and then you can do it at the same time, but it doesn't have to be. Then you examine those thoughts. What are the stories of your anxiety?
Right.
And revolving them. Well, I don't think I have enough. Well, I don't have enough. Okay, so we're going to revolve that to say, actually, you have all the abundance that you could possibly dream of at your fingertips. That's just the truth.
Right.
And so you change that construct. And what's interesting is, and you wouldn't think this intuitively, but the emotion of anxiety or anger, any of those ones that we weren't supposed to feel,
right?
There's no judgment in our model. It's not like those are the bad ones, the low ones, and these are the good ones, because we're trying to unify the whole field. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So those emotions have the same power of manifestation, the anxiety, if they're channeled into the thought of what you want to create.
Okay.
Instead of, it undoes what you've been describing. And I wrote this paper called Why the Secret Doesn't Work and How to Fix It. And you just describe perfectly. That's what they say you do. Oh, just stay up in the blah, blah, blah. And no, that's not it.
Yeah.
No, people don't understand that when you're angry, and I do this all the time now. And is if I'm in a conflict, the conflicts are here. It's not about never having them. It's about learning to turn them into something really powerful and positive.
Yeah.
So, I get triggered by she's just not making herself clear.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And so I'm really anxious, and I'm feeling and breathing while I'm thinking, how can I make myself more clear? How can I make myself more clear? Not her.
Yep.
How can I do it? And then, because I've separated the intellect and the emotion, the intuition can just be heard. It's always an impelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that sense, the first baby step was organize your thoughts.
Right.
Because there's so many thoughts, and you want to make sure they're geared to emotion. And so I was able to, and that's a lot of how I feel my way through life sometimes. It's just like one intuitive message at a time.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Oh, Barbara, so good. So good.
I know. I could go on and on, right?
Yes.
So much to talk about. And I love to be able to overlay this with what you're doing, exactly what you're doing. Because you can tell, I'm in the ethers a lot. I mean, I'm in this world where it doesn't always cross over to come in and say you're a psychic channel and you channel Einstein. But let's come back sometime and talk about Einstein.
Yes, I would love that. That would be amazing. I know I want to stay connected to you, and I know those who've heard our conversation do too. So we will schedule another session. We will talk some more. But where in the meantime can our listeners find you and learn more about all that you are presenting to the world?
Go to barbarawith.com, and that's WITH, like the preposition. And I've got all my stuff over there that will lead you over to my publishing company and all the books. I have what's going on. I have a Conflict Revolution Challenge.
Okay.
And this is where I've created these are free downloads, and I'm challenging you to learn conflict revolution, this very simple thing I've been talking about. And then there's a journal, a 12-week journal that if you want to really dig into it, and my theory is that you don't need 12 weeks, that once you start to do it, and you start to see the miraculous outcomes that start to take place, it becomes a part of the new operating system. But my readings are over there, and I'd like to offer you and your listeners a special. If you order a half-hour reading, I'll go for an hour. And really, I probably will just go until we're done.
Oh, where I am. It's so generous of you. That's wonderful. Yes. Well, I will be signing up because I would love to
come on over
with the sound and angels and all of them.
You're ripe
to know.
You're ripe to receive it, I think.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
thanks for having me so much. Thank you.
This was brilliant. I so appreciate you. Thank you to all who listened, and we hope you found this helpful. We'll talk to you next week.